everyone. Colton and I's one-sided rivalry with Anita Sarkeesian, internet feminist, is coming to a head. This is the beginning of a series where Colton and I deconstruct her videos to point out some of the flaws, but it's important to note that we do not disagree with her in the overarching themes of her videos. Basically, we recognize that a lot of pop culture is really anti-feminist and is really concerning from a gender lens level.
The problem is that she makes a point and then expands way too far and makes it so it's like this huge generalization that isn't quite true, and at the same time refuses to recognize any sort of progress.
This video is about her number 5 tropes versus women video, the mystical pregnancy.
One thing that I've learned from watching a lot of science fiction and fantasy television is you never ever want to get pregnant on TV.
What? Of course you're not gonna want, you don't want anything to happen to you in TV.
Things are moved along through conflict, so if something happens to you, it's going to cause some sort of conflict or problem to be solved in the future, thus making a story.
Basically, the characters are reduced to their biological functions.
Who else are they gonna get pregnant?
Well, just because someone gets pregnant doesn't mean they're reduced to an incubator. They still do stuff.
Yeah. Case in point, she talks about Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. In Battlestar Galactica, there's a storyline where Starbuck is on one of the ruined planets that the Cylons, the cyborgs, destroyed. And so she's back on the planet to try and rescue people, and she gets kidnapped, and her ovaries are harvested because the Cylons throughout the entire series are trying to create human Cylon hybrids because the Cylons can't reproduce with each other because they're just robots. They harvest her ovaries because throughout the entire series, basically the thing about Battlestar Galactica is what makes you human. Starbuck is not pregnant, so there's no mystical pregnancy to worry about. Her ovaries are harvested as a plot point because that's what the entire series is about.
Because she has them.
Because she has them. But also, Starbuck is a huge character in almost every other way. She is a badass fighter pilot. She is one of their best soldiers. She has all of these other storylines that keep continuing even after her ovaries are harvested. She's not reduced to her biological parts. She's simply the only person they can get ovaries from.
Deanna Troi from Star Trek The Next Generation is perhaps the quintessential example of the mystical impregnation. Imagine finding out you're pregnant, giving birth 36 hours later, raising the child within a day, and then it dies, or in this case, vanishes. We don't see Troi dealing with the long-term emotional ramifications of such a traumatic event.
So here's the thing. She talks about Counselor Troi as though she's human, and she's not. She's half human, half betazoid, which means that she is an empath. I mean, yes, she has the likeness of a woman, and yes, for any normal person, a 36-hour pregnancy probably would have some sort of emotional impact, but the fact that she is an empath, and her mental stability and her mental state and the control she has over her emotions are going to be far different than any normal humans.
Basically, the reason that character is used for all of these storylines is not because she's a woman, but because being a betazoid means that she is more likely to be receptive. The way she's analyzing it in this context is unfair.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yes, some of us are physically capable of having babies, but no, that does not mean you get to take advantage of and abuse that for the sake of your story.
How many kids have been killed in pop culture? Character-wise?
Many.
How many husbands and wives are killed as a result of storylines in pop culture?
Many.
How many times have people been physically or mentally abused in pop culture?
Many. And how dare they?
How dare they use someone else's pain for their storyline? What?
You have to come up with completely original, negative, traumatic events that have never happened in real life ever. Go. Oh wait, what's that?
You can't? Of course, science fiction and media as a whole is going to use pregnancy as a plot device because it's a huge part of our lives and experiences as humans. But yeah, why is pregnancy off limits? That's our biggest question for Anita. Why is pregnancy in particular off limits, but no other emotional conflict is?
Well, and in what ways would pregnancy be okay to use in a story? Because, for example, with the Starbuck character, she is more than her ovaries, before, during, and after. But somehow it's still not okay. So it's kind of like you're setting up a situation where anytime a woman gets pregnant, it's
if that pregnancy is not a good thing.
Fanvidder Laura Shapiro calls the mystical pregnancy a type of reproductive terrorism.
Really? Like, that seems to be taking it a bit far, because again, why can't any other trauma that is introduced to characters be considered emotional terrorism? That's what a story is, emotional terrorism. The whole point of these stories is to make you feel something. So of course we're gonna pick a biological process that is supposed to be beautiful and wonderful, and of course we're going to twist it.
Because
that's how stories
that's where
work.
the conflict comes. That's why it's a big deal, because it is this thing that's supposed to be cool and great and like a really emotionally enriching experience, and then it gets perverted, and that's why it's the problem that needs to be solved. Wow, look, this pregnancy was viewed in this way, and the characters were trying to fix it and make it not this way, which tells me as an audience member that pregnancy is not actually this ugly, disgusting thing that's being portrayed in front of me.
I'd love to see a show set in some dystopian future that deals with issues surrounding women's reproductive rights as the core plotline, not just as some throwaway episode or for dramatic effect.
Not every TV show that mentions pregnancy has to be all about pregnancy.
I mean, it should be able to be a minor plot line.
Yeah, why not? Anything else is a minor plot line. And also, in the instances that it is a minor plot line, like Colton has already debunked the Star Trek one, because that's just how that character's background works. And then in the other cases she brings up, it's not a small plot line, it's a huge part of the storyline. So I don't understand what the problem is. Okay, so our issue with this video comes down to a couple of factors. A, who else are they gonna get pregnant? B, the examples she brings up, they don't go down the way she describes them.
Which is the major problem with all of her videos, is that she tries to take from pop culture, and it seems as though she knows nothing about pop culture. 3,
why is pregnancy off limits? Because it's like this sacred biological process, but literally any other kind of emotional or physical trauma that goes on in TV is okay. So those are the 3 things.
I mean, pregnancy is treated the same way a lot of other things are. I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen that are tragedies or good things that happen in people's lives that are taken advantage of to further the story. And why is it that pregnancy is not okay?
Yeah, this is one of the few videos that Anita has posted that I disagree with literally everything in it. Next week, or the next time you see us, we're going to deconstruct her deconstruction of Monster.
The title of the video is Kanye West Monster Misogyny.
So, see you next week.